In this video, I'm going to get into how to tell which company has the best brokerage accounts to actually trade with, the type of accounts, and the questions you should ask to make sure that you get the best platform as possible to trade with. To trade in the stock market, you need to have something that is called a self-brokerage account or a brokerage account. You'll need to have your own brokerage account, and opening a brokerage account is highly alike to open a simple bank checking and savings type of account. In fact, many banks have brokerage accounts, and many firms will even give you debit cards if you hit some limits. I know back when I was with Scottrade, I think it was like a $2,000 limit. They gave me a debit card. Same thing as far as a simple bank debit card, has the same type of stuff with it. As long as the money's in there, it's good and it works. So as far as that goes, the important thing to note is it is possible to use a brokerage account like a checking account. In some firms it does allow this, and on the surface level the only major differences between a brokerage account and a simple checking savings type account is the name. One lets you trade in the FDIC insurance for the United States. The FDIC insurance rules, I will actually leave a link down below, get into the difference between the actual accounts and stuff like that, so in case you want to know more about it. But the first thing that you must research in actually figuring out which firm you should go with is the actual limitations of each firm. Note, not all firms are equal in what they allow and don't allow. Also, some firms will charge you money yearly or monthly for just having your account, while others don't charge you at all and up to when you trade. And these are the accounts that I'm really going to say that you really need to go with, and this is what I deal with personally. These trades, these fees are called commission fees. So what happens there is when you buy stock, it doesn't matter how much, just when you buy, you're charged with the commission fee. Same thing with sell. It doesn't matter how much, it doesn't matter how much money you made, you get a hard commission fee. In some places it goes into $9, so $9 per buy, $9 per sell. In some places it get low. So some places I've seen it down to $4, and you need to shop around for the best price, because keep in mind, especially if you're starting out, every single dollar that you can save, the better off you are. Keep in mind, 100 trades at $1 of commission fee, that's $100 right there that could be in your pockets. It's best to have a general idea on what to do, what you want to do with the accounts before you go opening it. And do you want to trade options, forex, short stocks, or what do you want to do? If you don't know what all these things are, that's fine. This is what this class is made for. And most accounts will allow you to at least long stocks, which is buy low, sell high type of stuff. And then they'll have the ability to add on features like shorting stocks and dealing with options. But it is important to note that on what limitations each firm has. And if you don't know what any of those the stuff means at any time, feel free to check in the previous video. There, say a link there, and that gets into a investment dictionary, online dictionary that you can check out. And all that's free, by the way. We will cover most of what all this stuff means in later classes, but I personally would recommend focusing simply on longing and shorting stocks for a while before you move on to stuff like forex and a few other things. So with this in mind, I would recommend for you to do a simple lookup for the most well-known firms for your area. So within the United States, it is Scottrade, TD Ameritrade, Fidelity and those are the biggest at this time. Keep in mind there is plenty of others. It doesn't mean one's better over another because they're well known. It's just something that's, like anything that's well known, it's worthwhile checking them out. There's others that I can go on and on all day with the entire list. But the important thing to note is there is plenty of other firms, and some of them might be cheaper and even easier to work with. But most firms have a help site and see if you can look up how they handle just having a brokerage account, fees if they allow you to short, and the cost of that, and transferring stocks from one place to another, the cost of that. And you may have to call up and ask for these. These are very basic questions, and most firms, they have a full staff just for that one thing, because there's a lot of people who gets into this, they don't know one thing to the next, and it's fairly important to make sure that people feel comfortable so they sign on. And it's worthwhile to doing it, because the fact is just calling them up or looking at the site or both, which is fairly important, it's money. It's your money after all. The two resources that you have is time and money, and you need to save as much of both if you can. So questions to ask the firm should include, but not only include, the following: is what is the charge for just having an account and not doing anything with it, or for the stock to just sit in the account and nothing else? What you're looking for is, will they charge you yearly, monthly type of thing for just having the account, or will they charge you for something like commission? And if there is a charge, how much is the charge, or how much is the commission fee? Note, commission again is the fee that you have to pay to buy or sell. So if you buy, you pay a commission; sell, you pay a commission. Doesn't matter how much, doesn't matter how much money you make. The commission, however, is a fixed price. So with that in mind, just simple ask: how much is it going to be for commission or for the charge? And personally, if you're just wanting my opinion, I would go with commission over a flat charge. The flat charge is fine when you're getting into where you're trading almost every day and you're trading in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, because you're not really worried about the money. But for the most part, when you're starting out, the commission fee is fairly important. And then on top of that, there's other things where, is the brokerage firm bidding against you? They have to put into the bids as far as you're buying or selling. But as far as, did they delay it by milliseconds or not, type of things. So it's fairly important to note that what was the risk and everything. But I would go with commission if you're just wondering which way I would go. So with this, can you short stocks with them, which is another question. Can you short stocks with them, and what is the conditions that have to be met to allow you to short stocks? Now, it's common to find firms that will allow you to short stocks, but there normally is some type of restriction, like you need $1,000 in the account, or $1,000 of a mixture between stocks or in the account, or what it may be. But I'm going to get into what is shorting, but it's kind of common sense that there will be some type of restriction when it comes to shorting stocks. So the other questions that you should ask is, can you trade options, forexes, ETFs, and ask if what are you going to be using for? So if you're going to be using it for simple options and nothing else, there's no real reason for you to ask for forexes or whatever it may be. But you should know your options. So basically, whenever you're dealing with your account, Instead of having a couple accounts, if you can consolidate it to one place, and given that the commission is the same across the board, it's better to do that. But you need to know your options as far as what is the limitations for the accounts. But have an idea on what you want to try. And as far as things goes, it's best to start out with simple longing and shorting, simple buy low, sell high, and also make money when it's go down. And I'm going to explain a little bit more on that in later videos. But another thing to ask, and this is very important, is how much does it cost to transfer your assets from their accounts to someone else, to another account, to another offsite account. And that's fairly important because a lot of places they don't charge. But let's say, for example, they go all haywire. It's a company and things happen, and they go all haywire. Well, the thing is you need to switch accounts. Well, how much is it going to cost you? And what is the process to switch the accounts, switch the assets from your account to somewhere else? It's fairly important to note this because a lot of people end up getting messed over with that one single problem. So it's fairly important to note that. So as far as that goes, let's go into actually how to make the account. And keep in mind, there's more questions that you should note that's out there, being like, what is the benefits for going with your company versus something else? Like, say, for example, if I was approaching something like Scottrade, I'll be like, well, I'm taking a look at TD Ameritrade and this, and this. And what is the benefit to going with you versus them? And you might be able to get a better deal. You might be able to get benefits from it. Or you might be finding it's about all the same, which is more than not it is. What you're going to find across the board. Now, going on to my computer, you can see that I have Fidelity open, and I'm going to show you how to open up a brokerage account using them. Note, most places it's all overline. There's very little actually doing it in person or something like that. Some places do allow you to open brokerage accounts in person, but with today's world, it's going to be mostly all overline. So with that in mind, let's just go ahead and do the open account. And keep in mind, the process of actually going about this may be a little bit different from firm to firm, but I'm showing it with this since I don't have an account with Fidelity in the first place. And one thing I want to mention is, as of right now, being April, almost end of April 2017, Fidelity doesn't charge a fee to just have the account. So let's go ahead and tell them that we want to open a brokerage account. And you might say, well, is it cash management? We're not opening a cash management account. So from here, you might get something where it says open a individual or joint account. Now, a joint account is if multiple people is going to really have access to it, or we're going to do individual. I'm going to be doing individual, and we'll move from there. And if you're already a customer of the place, then go ahead and select yes. I'm going to say no, and I'm going to put in my information at the bottom. So the next thing's next is I will need to put in the following information, and yes, that means social security number and stuff like that. Keep in mind that it's like a bank and whatever, where you need to put in the information so they know who you are and what it may be. And you might ask about, what about something like here, if it asks how many trades per year would you do? This is optional. I would just skip over that if possible. If not, then just guess how many trades you would do. It's reasonable to do about 10 plus trades per month. So note that it's really just up to you on what number you want to go with. But if it's optional, I would just skip that altogether. At the first point, just put in your employment status and some other information that it wants. Now, you might get a question, something like this, where receive financial documents electronically. I would say no to that. There's a few reasons why. One of them is by saying yes, you actually have a chance of not seeing it or just not even looking at it. So what this does is it forces you to, you get something in the mail and be able to look at it. And the second, and this is very important, is it gives you a physical copy of what it may be. So, for example, if I wouldn't care too much about the trade confirmations and stuff like that, but statements, taxes, and stuff like that, physical copies are very important. So, with that being said, and in some places, it lets you say, "Oh, I want a physical copy of this," or everything else being electronic type of stuff. What I'll go for if you have that ability is statements. It would be physical copy. Tax forms is physical copies. Shareholder reports, physical copies, and I don't really see anything else on here, but that's really about it. And really, shareholder reports, it can go either way, but the statements and tax needs to be physical copies no matter what. And you may get this also as far as the option. Go ahead and read up on it if you have the ability. But what you want to keep in mind is taxable money or not. Notes, most of the stuff is not going to be FDIC insured like your checking savings account. FDIC insured basically means if the bank or firm does something screwy and they screw up something, you're by government in the United States insured for $250,000. That's not the case here. There's some other type of insurance that's in play, but no one really trusts it in the first place because it kind of screwed over a lot of people. So just note that you're not really insured with that type of stuff. So at this point, agree to a few things and say that, yeah, that's me or whatever. And then what you need to do is go ahead and get your account ready and go from there. Back in the day, I think it took me 2 weeks to open up a Scottrade account when I was first starting. Then after you've made your username and password and agreed to everything, it asks you how do you want to go ahead and fund the accounts. You don't have to fund your account. You got set up and running good, but if you want to, you can go ahead and fund it. And all this means is you can link it up to, say, your bank account or whatever and do one-time transfer or whatever it may be. And if you're done, just go to the account overview. And now at this point, you may be asking, all right, let's jump on in and let's start trading. And you need to hold off on doing that. One thing I want to tell you to do right now, as of 2017 time frame, one of the best platforms I've found to do your research on is Thinkorswim. TD Ameritrade owns it, and what I would advise you to do, you don't have to do it, but what I'll strongly advise you to do is, if you can, open up a TD Ameritrade brokerage account. Even though if you may never trade with them, and I've done this personally, is I've never traded with them because their commission is too high. It's as simple as that. But with that brokerage account, I have access to Thinkorswim and I can use it in advanced form. So what you should do is go ahead and and this is just my advisement to you, open up your TD Ameritrade account. Make sure they still don't charge monthly or yearly, and then that way you have access to Thinkorswim and you can continue on with the courses like before. Again, use the simulators and stuff at its point and actually go ahead and see if you can actually make do with that. Anyways, hope you have a great day.